Yo, what is up? Good evening. I fix this camera a little bit for you guys here. How we doing? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Line to Gain. I am Corey James. I am here with you tonight. Looks like we got a share already. Bobby Lehman starting us off hot with a share of the vid. Thank you so much, Bob. Bobby, you were on Warzone earlier today, and I popped in for a quick glance. I saw the description was like they're gonna think we're hacking today or something like that, and I tune in, and the first thing I see is just guy coming down in a parachute. Bob pulls up the sniper, one hit KO. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. He's like, yeah, he's gonna think we're hacking. It was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. We like the video, so you can check us out. Check out Solace BLG on Facebook. What are we getting into tonight? Well, we're getting into a lot, but first we are getting into Founders Mas Agave. It is a premium hard seltzer. I just found them this weekend. Never had them before. Got the variety pack. There's a lime, strawberry, grapefruit. Might get through them all tonight. We're going to be leading it off with the lime. It literally tastes like a margarita. They're basically just like cocktails in a can, pretty much. I enjoy them. So enjoyed them on the boat this weekend. Had a nice weekend. Did a lot of yard works. Threw a lot of mulch. And then we rewarded ourselves with a little time out on the boat afterwards. So does this camera look crooked to you guys? Looks crooked to me. We're going to fix that. We're going to fix that. All right, I hope that's better. That would just bother me if I was watching. Bear with me. We're going to get you right. We're going to get you guys right. All right, that looks a little bit better. Good deal. Get the mic in the shot. Let them know what we're doing. So let's pour it up. Ooh. Hear that fizz? Slancha, boys. I don't know about like when I do the hard seltzers, I like them on ice a little bit more than just straight out of the can. A little bit more enjoyable that way, I've found. Whether that's a White Claw, Truly, whatever. I like them on ice. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Did anything happen in the NFL? Anything at all? Cheers. Cheers to you as well. Getting some more. Heather with the like. Thank you, Heather. Appreciate you. Welcome to the show. So, yeah. In case you have been detached from your phone or any news in sports, something big went down today. That would be that Julio Jones is no longer a member of the Atlanta Falcons. Moved north a little bit, up 75 into Nashville, Tennessee. He is now on the Tennessee Titans. Losing my mic here a little bit, bear with me. Rough day here. Rough start to the show. Technical difficulties. Nothing a couple hard seltzers can't fix. We'll get you right. We'll get you right. Bear with me, guys. I'll be right back. All right, I had it fixed earlier, but I just had to let that beat drop for you guys. Anyway, as we were saying, Julio is now a member of the Tennessee Titans. And we're getting some comments rolling here. Travis, Heather with the follow, thank you. Travis throwing up the swords. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad did the Falcons get screwed on this deal? We're going to touch on that, believe me. Shannon Sharp took away a lot of their leverage with that phone call. We can talk a little bit about that. If you guys don't know, I'll update you on what happened there. So, yeah, Julio, now a member of the Tennessee Titans. And if you remember earlier in the offseason, former number 2 for the Titans, Corey Davis, I can't remember where he went to, but he's no longer on the Titans. So now their 1-2 punch is A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, which is quite a bit of an upgrade if you ask me. Pretty amazing upgrade, actually. Titans getting an extra third-round comp pick for Corey Davis before the draft next year helps, too. That's a comment from Travis. Helps cover what they gave up, which would be the picks that the Titans gave up in order to receive or to acquire Julio Jones today. And we can just go ahead and talk the specs on the trade real quick. People are coming in hot on this tonight. I love it. We could talk a little bit about the deal that actually went down. So here are the full specs. So the Falcons, what did they receive? They received a 2022 second-round pick. Atlanta gets the Titans 4th in 2023. And Tennessee got Julio Jones and a 6th-round pick in 2023. So Travis is coming back and saying that they got a 3rd-round pick for Corey Davis. So basically, for giving up Corey Davis, they got a 3rd-round pick, and they get a 6th-round pick and Julio Jones. And Falcons get a 2nd and a 4th the following year. So, a couple of things to unpack there. Is it a bad deal? I get why people might think that this is a bad trade for Atlanta, but you got to think about it from Atlanta's perspective. And I'm going to talk about how this is going to affect the Titans. There's a lot to unpack here. It's pretty exciting for football nerds. So, Julio Jones is, let me just be 100% accurate here. Julio Jones is 32. He's a 32-year-old wide receiver. Okay? Came into the league, I believe, a year older than A.J. Green, if I'm not mistaken. So those guys were drafted back-to-back. Atlanta, then Cincy. Julio, then A.J. So you can, in terms of like where they at in their career, you can kind of think of their age, just about the same. Same wear and tear, same exposure to the league, but I think Julio is just about a year older. So 32-year-old wide receiver. Typically, there are some outliers, but typically after the age of 30, the production from a wide receiver drastically drops off. Now, who are the outliers? You think of like Terrell Owens and Randy Moss. Those are Hall of Fame wide receivers. Now, is Julio Jones a Hall of Fame wide receiver? Potentially, yes. Yeah. What really sets those apart is the ability to be productive past the age of 30, right? That's what, not anybody, but there are a lot of good wide receivers that make it to 30 and they've had great careers, but they're not able to sustain that greatness or change their game so that they're still productive in the NFL beyond that age. And that's not a knock. I mean, shoot, these guys are coming into the league at sometimes 19 years old. 20 is an old draft. Or 21 rather is an old guy to be drafted. So to say that they're putting in 9 to 12, potentially 11 years of work, that's really good in the NFL, right? So just putting that out there that Julio's 32 years old. Is he Julio Jones from 4 years ago? Absolutely not. He can't be. But that's kind of why it's a good fit for the Titans, because they don't need him to be that. The Titans already have a number 1. And let me be very clear. A.J. Brown is still the number 1 receiver in Tennessee, in my opinion. If you disagree, drop it in the chat. I'd love to hear your opinion on why you think Julio is better. If I had to pick today one wide receiver to start my team and I could only choose between A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, I'm taking A.J. Brown every time. Every time. Primarily because he's younger, right? There's less tread on them, or there's more tread on them tires, you know? There's less wear and tear. AJ obviously has battled some injury issues. Coming from a fantasy owner of AJ Brown, Travis, you know how many times I've talked to you about AJ Brown, putting him in the fantasy lineup. I mean, but I still think he is their top target, and I'm interested to hear how you guys feel about that as well. But let's kind of get into a little bit of Julio, and I've got a Pro Football Reference pulled up here. I'm really just interested to kind of get a perspective on where he's at now, because we all know the name Julio Jones, and he was part of an offensive machine in Atlanta, particularly when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator, Matt Ryan's MVP year. They went to the Super Bowl, the infamous 28-3, blown lead against the Patriots. So we know Julio, right? Household name. Let's kind of get into some of the nuts and bolts here. So first 3 years in the leagues, we'll just start with receptions. 54, 79, 41. Those are the first 3 years. Not crazy, but good, right? Yardage, 959, 1198, 580. Now, in 2013, it looks like he only played 5 games, hurt for the year, okay? Put that out there. Since then, he has not played less than 10 games. He's not played actually less than 14 games since that third season in the NFL, except for last year. Last year, he played 9 games, 51 catches on 68 targets. That's a great percentage, by the way. You're getting the ball thrown to you 68 times. You're catching 51 of them. You got to assume some of those aren't catchable. 771 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, the 3 touchdowns, a little bit concerning, other than the fact that, he played in 9 games, which is more than half, but still. 3 touchdowns. He hasn't had that few since 2017. Prior to that, the fewest he had was that 5-game stint in 2013 where he only had 2 touchdowns. Julio Jones, basically, his top-level touchdown production is going to be around 8 touchdowns. Still very good, right? Let's see here. Number of targets, right? That kind of shows you how much of a piece of the offense has he been. So in the first 3 years, the targets 95, 128, 59. And from there, it jumped dramatically. 163, 203, 129, 148, 170, 157. And then 68 last year. Again, he only played in 9 of those games. So kind of giving you a scope on the production of Julio Jones. Do I expect him to put up double-digit touchdowns? No, I don't think that's possible. Even though Tennessee is an offensive juggernaut. That's all they do, really. We can talk a little bit about that right now. I had planned at the beginning of the week, I'm going through and I'm getting ready for the show, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do Lions, and then I'm going to do Bengals, and then I'm going to talk about the Colts, and then we're going to talk about the Bills, and then I'll get to the Titans. And then this news breaks, and I was like, well, I guess I'm leading the show off with Titans talk. It's a little bit out of the norm, but so interestingly enough, the offensive coordinator that was at Tennessee is now the head coach of Atlanta, Arthur Smith. So he was the former offensive coordinator. New offensive coordinator Todd Downing. Is he going to bring in a new scheme, a new offensive scheme? I hope not. I would think not. I think that it makes a lot of sense to basically feed Derrick Henry the entirety of as much as you can, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that offense runs through Derrick Henry. King Henry. Travis, you'll know this better than me, but I'm pretty sure 2 of the last 3 years, the rushing yards kings, if not absolutely the last 2 years, right? So, and the good thing is, Todd Downing said he's not really interested in changing up the scheme. Todd Downing's more interested in utilizing the talent that he has and developing a scheme that fits the players, which you are seeing a little bit more of in the league. Previously what it's been I'm going to come in and I'm going to put in my scheme and I'm going to draft players that fit my scheme. Now you're kind of starting to see a little bit more of like, all right, this is what we have. This is how we can utilize that talent best. And I think that's what you're seeing out of Todd Downing. He would be stupid to change it up, right? That's how you get fired very quickly. If you have one of the top offenses in the NFL and then you're the new offensive coordinator and you want to come in and make changes, and then if it drops off, you're out. You're gone. Now, if it's successful, you might, find yourself as a head coach next year, which is the ultimate goal typically for coordinators. Not a lot of coordinators coordinate because they want to be a coordinator forever. They want to be a head coach. So, and how does that affect Julio? Well, they're going to be a running team, and now the thing that happens is Corey Davis is not as good as Julio Jones, in my opinion. And Travis made the comment earlier. He already got hurt. He's with the Jets now. Travis, dropping that in the chat. I appreciate that. He's with the Jets. He's already hurt. I think Julio's an upgrade anyway. So now you have 2 vertical threats. Julio probably less of a vertical threat now, but he's still probably got that jump ball ability. That timing to high point the ball, that's just an ability that he's always had. He's very strong. Travis posted a GIF earlier today on the post on the Facebook chat of the catch where Julio Randy Mosses and if you don't want to know, Randy Mossing is, yes, it's a verb, reaching over the defender, pulling the ball back. Travis posted that GIF of Julio doing that against New England in the Fog game. So he's a strong, big, tall, fast receiver. Probably lost a step over the years, which is just natural. So I'm interested to see, how that affects. But now that you've got these 2 vertical threats, supposedly vertical, right? 1.5 vertical threats. It does a lot for the running game too. That's how these things work. If defenses have to respect the passing game, which you do against Tennessee, you've already seen what Tannehill can do with Davis and A.J. Brown. Now you've got A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. So I think this can do a lot for Derrick Henry. This can be something that clears up the middle of the pack because you've got to spread those guys out. Now, how does this affect the scheme? I mean, maybe you're seeing a lot more shotgun. Maybe you're seeing a lot more RPO out of the Tennessee offense where you have to basically hold your breath as a linebacker and see whether or not Derrick Henry's going to get that ball, or even as a safety. If they're handing it off to Derrick Henry, you need to come up and stop that run. But if they're doing that RPO where they're, reading the safety or reading the linebacker and seeing what they're going to do, can open a lot of things up for the passing game and the run game. It's pretty versatile. So, Bobby with the comment here, do you think Derrick Henry will have a career year because teams won't be able to stack the box? And that's kind of what we're talking about here is, potentially. Now, a career year for Derrick Henry is a very high bar because, as Travis dropped in the comment, he's King Henry. He's the rushing king 2 years in a row now, which is kind of interesting if you just follow the trajectory of the career of Derrick Henry. He's always been pretty good, but he absolutely exploded over the last couple of years, which is not how running backs typically work. Typically it's a couple of years and then boom. His is a little bit longer, I feel like. And I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure it's a little bit more of a delayed explosion or burst onto the scene for Derrick Henry. So, that being said, to indirectly yet directly answer your question, Bobby, no, I don't think he'll have a career year. Do I think he will have a good year? Yes. Odds have shown me what he's done over the last couple of years. It's got to be pretty good. Travis with a comment. The 17th game too could be a chance to go back for back 2,000 yards. That's hard to count on that level of production again. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The bar is already so high. 1,000 yards used to kind of be the measuring stick for a good season for a running back. I think we're going to, over the next couple of years, that's going to be probably pushed out to about 1,200 or so, just based on obviously the next, the extra game. So you could see that yardstick get moved out a little bit. So you guys, you got to remember about Derrick Henry is that he's a running back, and the thing about running backs is their window is normally pretty small. Normally pretty small in terms of years that they are, super productive. You guys remember David Johnson? That was a nice little flash in the pan. Trying to think of some other running backs off the top of my head that it's just like they came out, they blew up. I'm blanking right now, but running backs, generally speaking, it's really, really good, and then it kind of tapers off because they take so much beating. Every time they're going through, they're busting through the line, they're getting hit, they're getting hurt. It's a lot of wear and tear. We're going to talk about, Joe Mixon and how that's going to affect him, I think, in the next couple of years when we get to the Bengals later tonight. Quote here, or excuse me, a comment here from Travis. Titans got DeMarco Murray from the Eagles the year they drafted Henry. Murray had about 1.5 good years of wear and tear left on him before his legs were gone completely. And that's kind of the idea is that, these running backs, it's just a lot of wear and tear, guys. It's just the way it goes, which is why you've seen the running back market in terms of contract size go down over the last 5 years. Running backs aren't getting as much money as they used to. No one's getting a Zeke deal anymore. It's just not happening. I mean, there's going to be another big name that's probably going to get a big deal, but even Joe Mixon's deal, I think it was 4 years, $48 million. Very, very incentivized in terms of his payouts. So it's just the way it is. It's the way of the business. You wouldn't, invest a lot of money that you're not going to get the ROI like a quarterback, right? You pay Patrick Mahomes that much money, one, because he plays the most important position on the field, and two, you can bank on getting at least 10 years out of that guy, right? Quarterbacks just last longer. Comment from Travis here. Henry does have a lot of wear. He had 12,000 yards in high school. That's insane. Then we all know what he did in college, obviously. So, yeah. Then we've got, moving on to the other side of the ball for the Titans, they have a new defensive coordinator. And that guy is Shane Bowen, and he's actually out of Pickerington, Ohio. Which, if you're from the Cincinnati area, you know where Pickerington is. And the Titans' defense was bad last year, guys. Let's be very clear. Particularly in the pass rush category. The Titans were not very good at stopping, which is why you could argue, which is why their offense was so prevalent, because they were on the field all the time, and they had to score to win. And that's kind of why I chalked them up as frauds last year, because I didn't trust them to go far in the playoffs, and they didn't. And I mean, they did the year prior, but I don't see them as until they have a at least average defense. I don't see the Titans as a team that is going to compete for a Super Bowl. I have them as a playoff team this year, but I don't have them as a real blue chip contender yet. Now, this is all just talk, right? A lot changes once they line up between the hash marks and play the games. A lot happens. But even last year, going into the game, Titans against the Bengals, I felt confident that the Bengals could win that football game, and they did. They beat the Titans, which a lot of head scratches. Like, well, any given Sunday in the NFL, it's like, well, actually the Bengals just match up really well against them. Because while the Bengals' offense is not as good as the Titans' offense, their defense is better, and that kept them in the game. So, and they ended up winning. So, and same kind of talk coming out of Titans camp with the defensive, new defensive coordinator. They're asking him, "Are you changing the scheme up? What are you going to go with?" And he's kind of like, "Well, we're going to run a lot of different schemes. We're going to just use the pieces that we see fit. We're going to use talent that we have in the way that maximizes our ability to stop the football." So, and again, that's what you're seeing a lot out of these new coordinators. Travis with another comment here. Lots of new pieces. Need to see how they fit together. Absolutely. And, it's going to be so much different than this year. The Bengals last year brought in a lot of new pieces, and they had all virtual OTAs, and it's really hard to get some synergy as a defense, when you're not really there with your teammates. You're not talking with your teammates. You're not working on things on the field. You're doing things through Zoom conferences. It's a lot more difficult to get that kind of cohesive structure that you need on a defense. You have to have it on a defense in order to, be successful in stopping the ball. So it's going to be very interesting. Another common theme that we're hearing throughout training camp or mini camps or OTAs or whatever we're calling them. I think OTAs are wrapping up now. We're moving towards mini camps and things like that. Whatever. I'm not sure. Anyway, very common theme that I'm hearing is that everything is going great for every team. Every team, it is just sunshine and rainbows and, it's going to be a good year, guys. It's going to be a good year. Things are looking up. Everything is just, it's going to be great. And here's the thing. For some of you, it won't be. It won't be great. It won't be okay. The season is going to suck for some of you. It's going to suck. You know why? Because that's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. But what are these guys supposed to say right now? Hey, coach, how's OTAs going? Well, couldn't stop a nosebleed with a pack of tissues right now. And, our quarterback, he's got syphilis again. And, it's our right tackle doesn't know how to tie his shoes on. Like, he lost his playbook 6 times. What are they going to say? There's an old Steve Spurrier video where they're coming up to the old ball coach and they're asking him, "Hey, coach, how's spring camp going?" And he put something out there like that. Like, what? I'm going to tell you something you guys probably haven't heard yet. And he starts rattling off all the things that, are going wrong in camp. And he's probably exaggerating like crazy. But what are they supposed to say? Yeah, they're going to say everything's going good. We're jacked up. They got to keep energy up, right? Their players are seeing these videos. They got to keep that vibe going that, yeah, we're going to have a good season. Because everybody's got the same goal right now, right? It's Super Bowl. That's the goal. That's why these guys, professionals put their lives on the line, their future health on the line to win a Super Bowl. That's why they're there. At least most of them. Some of them are there probably collecting a paycheck, and that's okay. Do your thing. Get that paper, boo-boo. But I don't know. What are you supposed to say? It's all speculation at this point, but it's fun to speculate and hope. Couple quick comments. If you look in the description of the video, we're still raising money. We are about like $155 for Wounded Warrior. We're doing a fundraiser, a 50-50 split up to our goal of $400. Will go to the Wounded Warrior Project. Once we exceed that goal, 100% of it goes to the Wounded Warrior, and we're going to keep doing it until we hit to our goal. So we had a fundraiser show. We weren't able to hit it. We're just going to keep rolling. So Venmo or PayPal is in the link. If you guys can contribute, that's awesome. If not, it's cool, man. I promise I'm not just sitting here hydrating. We got the Founders Mas Agave rolling tonight. It's really good. but you should also hydrate. So getting to the Lions, and I posted that, I talked about it last week, how I went on the Lions ESPN page, and the first thing I see is like news about Matt Stafford, who isn't their quarterback anymore. Well, the trend is kind of still continuing, because I went on to get some news about the Lions, study up, getting prepped for the show. And one of the first things I'm reading and hearing about is that Matt Patricia, who isn't their coach anymore, by the way, is being groomed for, quote, a major role in New England. Matt Patricia is being groomed for a major role in New England. That is, pardon my French, fucking hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. Matt Patricia is a clown. He's a fraud. This guy is the dude that showed up for his first NFL game as a head coach with the hat backwards, pencil in the ear, like he's still a coordinator in New England. Tried to instill the Patriot way at the Lions. Doesn't work. A lot of players in the NFL actually hate the Patriot way, because the Patriot way is like running and doing sprints and stuff like it's 1987, and like Herb Brooks is your head coach, like the head coach from Miracle. Again, doing suicides at the end of practice and stuff like that. No, these guys ain't fucking with that. No. So Matt Patricia is being groomed for a major role at the Patriots organization, and I hope with all of my soul that this happens. I really, really, really want Matt Patricia to be the next head coach of the New England Patriots, because that means that the Patriots are going to suck. So I found that absolutely hilarious, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So Lions' new defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, talking about their defense. It's been one of the biggest questions for the Lions. They had Matt Patricia, who was supposed to be this defensive mad scientist, this guru of defense, which turned out to be an absolute joke. And they kind of set themselves back a little bit in terms of what their defense has been able to do. So new defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, kind of similar to what the Titans have been saying on both sides of the ball. They're not sticking to a specific scheme, right? They're not sticking to one style of play, whether that's a 3-4, a 4-3. They're going to be in nickel sets a lot. They're going to move their players around to wherever they see fit, to wherever they can best play. I've seen reports, and I'm going to butcher his name, the linebacker that they just drafted out of Hawaii. John, if you're watching, help me out. But I think it was like a third-round pick or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but they're saying that he can play linebacker. He can rush the edge. He can drop into coverage. They're going to move these guys around and play them wherever they need to be in order to maximize their effectiveness on the field. And, I mean, that's really what you want out of your team. I've talked about it a few times. You want to draft athletes, right? Just guys that can ball. I don't care if on paper you're a defensive end. Can you drop back into coverage? On paper you're a safety. Can you come up and crack a running back and make a stop? Specifically on defense, is just you need ballers. You need dudes that can just hustle, fly around the ball, and make plays. Just hit people. That's what you want on defense. You need guys that play like they're on fire. And so, that's promising to hear out of Allen Park right now, is that the Lions are kind of thinking a little bit more progressively in terms of how they're going to be managing their defense, because Lord knows they need help. Greg Smith with the like. Greg, what's up? Bobby, thank you for bringing some people into the community, man. I appreciate it. Welcome. Go ahead and follow the page, guys. If you're new to the show, if you're liking it, follow it. Share the video with your friends. We just did a thing. This is the first night I've ever covered the Titans. Typically it's Bengals, Lions. Sometimes I mix the Browns in there, but Bengals and Lions, and then, put something out there this week saying, all right, let's add to it. Let's talk about some more teams. So I got, some love for the Colts. We got some love for the Titans, and we got some love for the Bills. Greg with the follow. Thank you. So, tonight we're covering the Titans, Colts, and Bills, and we're going to keep doing that. So if I, start finding out, like we got some followers that I don't know, the Jags. Maybe we'll start talking about the Jags. Good shit. Yeah, I appreciate it, Greg, man. Thanks for joining. So, talked a little bit about the defensive scheme for the Lions. Looking at the other side of the ball, we talked about it last week, how the Lions brought Todd Gurley in to talk with them, and I think it was either Dan Campbell or is it Brad Holmes? Is that their new GM for the Lions? The new GM for the Lions basically saying, like, yeah, I love Todd Gurley, and I'd like Todd Gurley to be a Lion, but at the same time, I'm not going to just throw money around. We're going to do a deal that's good for the team, which is great. Great to hear. But just kind of commenting on running backs in general, and I kind of talked a little bit about why when we were talking about the Derrick Henry thing, is that I'm not a fan of signing running backs in free agency. I'm not. Running backs, edge rushers, and wide receivers. I'm not signing you in free agency because I'm going to overpay for what I'm going to get back. Your market value is higher than your on-field production almost every single time. Almost every single time, guys. I want you, if you're bored, put a reminder on your phone right now to go look at the Sammy Watkins contract when he was first signed to Kansas City. It is asinine. Asinine. Absolutely crazy how much money they spent on Sammy fucking Watkins, who, coming out of college, was a big name out of Clemson. We were like, Sammy, gonna be good, gonna be real good. And he is good, but he's paid like a top 5 wide receiver, at least at the time of his deal. He was like paid like a top 2 wide receiver. Jarvis Landry, a lot of production, but is he a top 3 value wide receiver in the NFL? He was when he got his deal, money-wise. So that's kind of the thing for Todd Gurley. It's like, you're going to pay way more than you're going to get on the field. Similar to Jadeveon Clowney. We talked about this a little bit earlier. The name is bigger than the game. We talked about that like a couple months ago when I was talking about when the Browns signed Jadeveon. And it wasn't a super bad deal for the Browns, but at the same time, wasn't a great one. You're paying way more than you're going to get on the field. So that's just kind of my last comment about the Todd Gurley thing. Unless they end up signing him, then I'll talk a little bit more. But I just, running backs in free agency is not my thing. It's not my thing. Draft. There's so many available in like the second and third round. Just draft. Same with wide receivers and edge rushers. You're going to pay, because the market value, just think about what it would cost to sign a free agent edge rusher right now. Like when Bosa hits free agency. Absolutely insane. Travis a little bitter there in the chat. He was with the Titans. Clowney was trash last year and then he got hurt, Travis says. And I'll just touch on the Clowney thing real quick. Against the Bengals have to play him twice a year now, and I'm telling you, I'm not worried. 2 tackles and half a sack is what Jadeveon Clowney averaged career against the Bengals. So that's what you got to watch out for. All right. Something that one of our biggest fans, John Thrasher. John, congrats on your fiance coming stateside, by the way, man. That's awesome. Long journey there, so I know you guys are super relieved. So if you're not watching the show tonight, it's okay. John had shared a post with us about the potential the Lions should have flipped Goff pre-draft. There's some team out there looking for a veteran to add some depth, right? There's somebody out there. Hey, the Houston Texans, they're signing every fucking quarterback on the market right now. The Green Bay Packers, they might have been able to put some cheddar down. They still might be willing to do that. But should the Lions have traded Jared Goff for more picks? And the hypothetical thing that I saw was that should the Lions have traded Jared Goff for a second-round pick? My response, duh. Yes, absolutely. Can I go back in time and do that now? Can I get a second round for Jared Goff? Please, can I? Please? I mean, in my opinion, you're not getting a second round pick for Jared Goff. No, not happening. There's the contract issue. There's also the issue that he just isn't that good. There's that problem. So second round for Jared Goff, would I do that in a fucking New York minute? And there's no way I wouldn't do that. Absolutely. Where the Lions are at right now, they're reloading, guys. Like the Lions they might surprise a couple people. That's what everyone keeps saying right now. Same kind of thing that we've been talking about tonight. In the OTA, the preseason, it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's all, beautiful. Everything's good. I don't care what team you're looking at. Everything is golden right now. And, I think that's kind of the message that's coming out is like, well, the Lions could surprise some people. They also couldn't. They also could just suck. So that's a thing that could happen. And if I'm a Lions fan, which I kind of am, like pseudo, like they're definitely my NFC team. They're my second favorite team, I guess I would say. I kind of want them to suck, right? I kind of want them to do poorly and get a very high draft pick and draft a very quality future quarterback. Because that's how you do it. That's how you do it. There are a few anomalies, like in terms of quarterbacks drafted outside of the top 5 that go on to be franchise quarterbacks, like your Russell Wilson and your Tom Brady. But more often than not, the success rate of quarterbacks like drastically drops off after 5. Not 5th round, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 overall. The success rate is just, you might have some more success in that top 10, but and after that, it's off a fucking cliff. Looking forward to seeing what race car driver Dan Campbell is gonna do there with the Lions. Though, did you guys see this? This guy is ridiculous. So they have the Detroit the Grand Prix on Belle Isle. It's a IndyCar Series race here in Detroit, and I think Dan Campbell's like either the pace car guy or the like inaugural green flag waiver or something like that, like the grand marshal or something, right? He's involved in some ceremonial aspect, and he shows up to a press conference wearing a fucking IndyCar Series helmet, walks out and does his presser in the helmet, which it's pretty funny. I think some of the fans that take the Lions pretty seriously were pretty upset about it, but I think for the most part, people were getting a laugh. The national media absolutely ripped him apart, called him, even Mike Valenti here in Detroit called him a fucking cartoon, and Joy Taylor on The Herd, Colin Cowherd's radio show, said Detroit deserves better. Like, come on, guys, all right, get over yourselves. I thought it was pretty funny. It was funny, so. He's definitely going to win players over, right? Guys are going to want to play for him. Now, whether or not he's going to have the ability to enforce the things that he wants to enforce, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, moving on to the Bengals. So obviously Joe Burrow, he's throwing harder now. That's one of the things that's coming out of these OTAs. Joe Burrow is throwing with some pop. CJ Uzomah, tight end for the Bengals, made a comment. Hey guys, have I just not been catching from him for a while, or like is he popping in there? And everybody's like, no, he's throwing with some zip on it today. So Joe Burrow, in his time not being able to utilize his knee, has opted to figuring out better ways to grip the football, from what I've read, and that has allowed him, and working his upper body obviously has allowed him to create more velocity on the football, which is actually kind of one of the things that you notice about watching even his games at LSU and watching some of his games with the Bengals in those first 7 weeks. The sideline to sideline throws are a little soft. They are a little soft. So he's working on increasing velocity. He's putting a water cooler off the back of the end zone and throwing 60-yard bombs at a water cooler. So he's working on the deep ball as well, which is one of the things that needs to improve going forward. But he's also rolling out. He's rolling out, running, throwing off that leg, looking just absolutely amazing. I shouldn't be shocked. I shouldn't be surprised at what Joe Burrow's able to do at this point. I don't think any of us really should be, but just the turnaround that he has made from that explosion of ligaments in his knee to now, it's pretty amazing. And it's got to be inspirational to the other guys that are in that locker room, seeing him coming in working every day to get better. That's got to rub off. That's got to rub off on a lot of people, and I'm excited to see what happens. And kind of a little bit on the Joe Burrow, the essence of Joe Burrow, if you will. How is this going to impact the Bengals in free agency? You have to wonder. If you had to list the top, future quarterbacks or up and coming quarterbacks in the NFL currently, you probably would put Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, guys like that in that category, right? And that has to be a lure to some people. If you're going into free agency as a player, you are probably looking for a place to improve your odds of winning. So would you rather hitch your wagon to an older, not proven quarterback or a younger, not proven quarterback? I would probably go with the younger guy, the guy that's got a little bit better production or better upside, right? If I'm going to be signing a long-term deal potentially with a team, I'm going to be wanting to hitch that wagon to a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Herbert. That's kind of what I would see. So yeah, I think Joe Burrow being on the Bengals can help us out in free agency. There's going to be guys that want to come and be a part of that, especially if we see an improvement this year. If we see the win total go up. And Nathan in the chat asking the question, how many wins are the Bengals getting this year? So I went over that in the show a few weeks ago, the fundraiser show. I went over all the teams and the records. I had the Bengals at 10 wins. Now that's lofty. That is lofty. But here's how I got there. So the front of the end of the Bengals schedule is pretty weak. Okay, in no particular order, we play, and I might get this order right actually. We play Vikings, Bears, Steelers, Jags, Lions. I can't remember week 6. I think it's Baltimore. I think week 6 is Baltimore. So out of that, is it insane to think that the Bengals could go 4-2 out of the first 6 games? The Bengals could beat Jacksonville. The Bengals could beat the Bears. They could beat the Lions. Steelers will be a coin flip. Vikings a coin flip. Baltimore a coin flip. But let's say Baltimore wins, right? Let's say Baltimore gets that win. So there's a loss. So coin flip odds on 2 of those, right? Minnesota and the Steelers. Coin flip. 50-50 would tell you one of those is going to be a win and the other one is going to be a loss. So we're sitting at 4-2. Right through the first 6 weeks of the season. And then you've got 11 more games. You got to win less than half of them to get to 10. Well, sorry, just over half of them. You got to win just over half of them to get to 10. So you get another one with the Steelers. Some of the later games include, we got a Green Bay matchup. We've got a Broncos matchup. That'll be interesting. Green Bay will be interesting depending on who's playing quarterback. If it's Aaron Rodgers, we're probably losing that game. If it's not, I like the coin flip method there. Trying to think who else we got. Browns are going to be tough this year. We got the Niners, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be a tough game. I got the Niners very strong. So the point is that the Bengals can do it, and I know I'm high on that. But another thing that was coming through when I was making these predictions is I think Chiefs, yeah, that's a loss. Duck low with that in the chat. Yeah, they're going to lose to the Chiefs. Sorry, it's just going to happen. That's okay. One of the things that you're going to also see in this is Joe Burrow is going to get better. He's going to continue to improve as the season goes on. At least that's my prediction. I would think most people would probably sign off on that. His second year in the league, not even really, right? He's only got 7 games under his belt, 6.5 really. That's it. So, you got to play another 9.5 games before he's at what used to be complete regular season. So Joe Burrow is going to continue to get better, guys, and that makes us more competitive in later games. Now, the ending schedule is rough. It's tough. There's a lot of hard-fought games there, but they're going to get better, and it's going to be interesting. I think the Bengals are going to be competitive in most games this year, so long as we get the health gods on our side. Couple of just quick notes. As I told you last week, Jamar Chase was going to sign his contract, and he did, as well as Joseph Asai, the edge rusher out of Texas, who I'm very excited to see play, particularly in the nickel sets. We talked about this last week. When the Bengals go into a nickel set, oftentimes they'll slide Sam Hubbard off the end into a tackle position. One, due to his ability to be very impactful in the running game, so kind of a fail-safe. But he is an edge rusher as well, so he's got the speed. He can, make those slow-footed interior linemen look pretty foolish on the pass rushes on third and passing downs, basically. So like 3rd and 5 and up is basically where you're putting those sets out there. Just a real kind of an interesting thing is that you're starting to see like a new era of leadership on the defense. One thing that Zach Taylor has done is come in and basically gutted what was the Marvin Lewis defense. Trying to think of a starter that was in the Marvin Lewis era right now. There's not a single one on the offensive line. Oh, excuse me, Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard was drafted by Marvin. I'll take that back. Other than Sam Hubbard, you have DJ Reader, Ogunjobi, and Trey Hendrickson on the defensive line. Linebackers, nope. Is Sean Williams still on the team? I can't even remember. There's very few, if any, starters from the Marvin Lewis era on defense. So what does that mean? I guess Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates would be a Marvin Lewis draft. Sorry, duh. 2 guys I'm just about to talk about. And the reason I'm about to talk about them is Jesse Bates and Sam Hubbard have basically emerged as the new leaders on that defense, and I'm excited about it. Jesse Bates is probably one of the most underrated defensive football players in the NFL right now. Top-graded PFF safety. Pro Football Focus graded him as the top-rated safety in the league. Yet Jesse Bates didn't go to a Pro Bowl, which just shows you how just fraudulent, if anything, that the Pro Bowl is. There was a year that Joe Mixon was the leading rusher in the AFC and didn't go to the Pro Bowl. What? I think Philip Lindsay went in his place. Okay. Moving on to another new team that we're going to be covering tonight. The Indianapolis Colts. Josh Wheeler, if you're watching, this is for you, buddy. So, Colts are kind of going with almost like a mini camp style versus the OTAs. From basically what I've read is that their participation isn't as good as like the Bengals and the Lions, but those participations are really good in training camps. The Bengals 100% people at OTAs. The Lions, I think it was like 80 out of 90 people that were assigned to the team were in OTAs. Those are really good production levels in terms of OTA participation. A little bit less activity than normal OTA in Indianapolis. But the biggest thing that everybody wants to hear about is Carson Wentz. Right, everybody wants some news on Carson Wentz, their new quarterback in Indianapolis. taking the helm, back with his old offensive coordinator who was there in Philadelphia as now the head coach of Indianapolis. But he's getting great reviews. Getting great reviews from coaches, from teammates, not only just about his play, but about his leadership. They're saying that Carson Wentz is coming in and he's talking the talk and walking the walk, which is exactly what you got to do as the new guy on scene. You're going to be the quarterback. You need to get buy-in from these guys quick because you got a lot of work to do. So they're also saying that Wentz is a little bit more comfortable in Indy than he is in Philly. And I think that makes a lot of sense. In my opinion, I think that Philly's a pretty tough place to play. They're a hardened fan base. Not only are they a hardened fan base, but they are a cruel fan base if you don't meet their expectations, which are very high. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about Philly here. You know, this is a small market football team podcast, and I want to focus on that. But, you know, for those of you that don't know, the Philly fans are some of the roughest in football. They're some of the harshest, if not the harshest, football fans. In terms of, you know, visitors coming into their stadium and in terms of their own players and their production levels or lack thereof. So if you aren't meeting their expectations, you're going to hear about it. And the one position on a football field that has more spotlight than any other is the quarterback. So when Carson Wentz wasn't, you know, meeting expectations, he heard about it. So it makes a lot of sense to be more comfortable in Indianapolis, in my opinion. But I think that's good to hear. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see if Carson Wentz can kind of come back to what he was supposed to be. Because in all honesty, I don't think that has happened. I don't think Carson Wentz has met expectations. He's been hurt too much to have met expectations. In fact, the year that they won the Super Bowl, he wasn't even starting. He was hurt. So I think it'll be interesting to see what we can get out of Carson Wentz. But again, the same thing that's happening across the country right now. Everything's great. Everything's great in Indianapolis. Carson Wentz is the shit. It's awesome. It's going to be good. So if you guys are just joining us or just catching this video on the replay, in the description is my PayPal and my Venmo. And the reason that is in there is because we are doing a fundraiser / charity show until we meet our goal. We're raising money for the Wounded Warrior Project, and 50% of the money donated up into our goal is $400. 50% of that will go to the Wounded Warrior Project. If we exceed that goal, everything beyond the goal goes directly to the Wounded Warrior Project. So if you have an opportunity to donate, please do so. And we are at about 155. I don't think I've gotten any notifications on any funds being raised currently, but we'll just go ahead and check the platforms to see if that has changed. Just bear with me. Nothing on the Venmo. Normally I get push notifications on the PayPal, so I don't think anything came through here yet either. Nope, that's okay. If you have an opportunity to donate, please do so. So the other big news out of Indianapolis, other than Carson Wentz, obviously, is Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye is the, I think is he edge rusher? I believe edge rusher out of Michigan. And Kwity Paye wasn't brought in to be a starter, I don't think, right away. They didn't have that intention. It was like kind of come in and prove yourself in order to get starting football time. And very quickly in their OTA mini camp style thing that they're doing there in Indianapolis, Kwity Paye has moved up and getting solid reps with the first team. Very impressed are the coaches in Indianapolis from his production in these camps, from his effort, from his athleticism. Excuse me. Which is very, very encouraging to see if you are a Colts fan, seeing that I think he was drafted in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. No. That was their first round pick. So very excited to see what can come out of him. There were a lot of questions. There were people that had him rated to go top 15, and he fell to the Colts. So it'll be interesting to see the kind of impact that he has. They plan on him having an immediate impact there in Indianapolis. So looking forward to that. Staying in the AFC, but moving towards Niagara Falls, we got the Buffalo Bills. Again, first time covering these teams. I'm excited. Hopefully we can grow the fan bases of these teams. If you know somebody that's a fan of the Titans, Colts, or Bills, even the Bengals and Lions, obviously, invite them to like the page. Get them in the chat. It's a lot better when I got fans engaging on the certain topics that are going on with these different teams. So the big news out of Buffalo is that Stefon Diggs, they restructured his contract. It was a pretty sizable contract, but now what the Bills have done is added $11 million to their cap room. The Bills now have $11 million in cash available in salary cap for them to go out and spend. What are they doing with that? So some people might think, okay, there's a few things you can do with that, right? One, you can use that money to extend current players. I guess Josh Allen might be one that's coming up that you would definitely want to get a deal under. Off the top of my head, I don't know a whole lot about the contract lengths of the other Bills players, but that would be one that I know is coming up in the next couple of years. I think they have a 5th-year option that they're probably using on him as a first-round pick, but. So that's one thing. You could extend current players on the Bills. Another thing is you could go out and make a splash in free agency or make a splash in, trading for somebody that, maybe requires a little bit more contract than what you currently had available on the books. The thing that I think that they're doing is just padding. They're just adding a little bit of room for, potential extensions, and then say we get close to the trade deadline, they need to make a move, or say they need to pick up some veterans due to injury. They have that financial security to be able to do that as an organization without hitting the salary cap. That's all I really think they're doing through that extension. Now, Bills, prove me wrong. That would be great to see another cool free agent or, off-season trade or something like that coming through the season. That would be fantastic to see, but I don't think that that's necessarily the strategy in Buffalo right now. I think this restructuring of Stefon Diggs is pretty much just a little padding. And now remember, any money that isn't used in the salary cap is just put right into the owner's pocket. So there's also that. Mike Brown's very good about doing that. And the thing is that I think it's a good thing that the Bills have added a little bit of this financial security, because I'll be honest with you, I'm very high on the Bills this upcoming season. I think the Bills are a potential Super Bowl contender. I have them losing to, I think, Cleveland in the divisional round. Very high in Cleveland. I think Cleveland can do very well this year. But I think Buffalo can be a Super Bowl team. I'd love to see it as a, Buffalo fans and Bengals fans share a bond from, I think the Bengals sent the Bills to the playoffs by beating the Ravens in the last play of the game. It was like a 40-yard touchdown on like 4th and 15 to Tyler Boyd. Andy Dalton to Tyler Boyd to send the Bills to the playoffs for, I think, the first time in 18 years, something like that. So Bengals fans and Bills fans have gone back and forth donating to different charities for each other's fan bases and things like that. So it's been a fun relationship on social media for sure. So I'd like to see the Bills do well, and I think they have the ability to do so. If Josh Allen continues to improve at this rate, watch out. Like, that's insane. The biggest flaw that we had on Josh Allen the first couple of years was his completion percentage. It was god awful. Well, last year he was one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league, pushing like 70% completion percentage. It was insane. So to see the steps made like that is, come on. So I'm very high on the Bills. I think they're going to be good. But not only that, they're in a very, very weak division, in my opinion. I think their division's down. You got the Jets, rookie quarterback. That right there, probably not going to the playoffs. You got the Dolphins. I'm not convinced that Tua is the guy. I'm not convinced that Tua. I think even the Dolphins have questions about Tua. So I'm not really sold on him leading them to a strong playoff run. And then you got New England. Again, Mac Jones, rookie quarterback. I'm not sold on Mac Jones either. I'm not sold on Zach Wilson in New York. Prove me wrong. Show me. Do something cool. That'd be great. But I'm not sold on these guys. So I'm not really hold my breath. I think the Bills. If you told me right now, so they got 6 games, right? How many 6 games against their division? 2 a home and away against each team. How many of those games do I think the Bills will win? I mean, the over-under has to be at least 4.5, right? At least 4.5. 5.5 maybe, if the money is following. I would probably bet on 4.5. I would take the over on 4.5. I would probably stay away from the bet at 5.5. Over-under divisional wins for the Buffalo Bills. So I'd say 5. I would take 5. Yeah, I would take 5. I'd say the Bills can win 5 divisional games this year. I say they sweep the Jets. I say they sweep the Patriots, and I say they split with the Dolphins. Because that's the next best team, right? I think the Dolphins are clearly the next best team in that division. So it's a weak division. They've got the ability to, because that number 1 seed is huge now. Since they've restructured the playoffs, the number 1 seed is king. Number 2 is not king any longer, or not just as good, right? It's just simply not. You have to play another game, even if you're the 2 seed. So the ability to pad that record, to add wins, to potentially unseed the Chiefs as the number 1 seed, which I have the Chiefs as the number 1 overall seed. I have them winning the Super Bowl this year. To be able to do that, you got to get some wins, and they have the ability to get some solid wins. Another thing an interesting thing, and something that you kind of see a little bit more from older, or rather more developed teams, and I would say the Bills are a developed team. They can compete for the conference. They can compete for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Is OTA participation is less. You're seeing it out of Green Bay, who's an obvious Super Bowl contender. They were in the NFC Championship last year. When these guys are good and they know they're good, oftentimes they might benefit more from getting some time with their, personal trainer than they would at the team level. So, but Bills OTA participation was probably the lowest that I heard about in terms of all the teams that we're covering now. The Bengals, Lions, Colts, Titans, and Bills. Only one NFC team in there. We need some more NFC love. But out of those teams, the Bills kind of have the lowest production. Interesting, though, there was this dead body that the Bengals used to bring out and put at right tackle last year. His name is Bobby Hart. He's now on the Bills, and he was a no-show for OTAs. I don't understand that, right? If you got cut from your previous team because you're not good, you're actually one of the lowest rated offensive linemen in the league. If you are at that point, wouldn't you think that let me just put this out there. Maybe Bobby Hart has something going on. Maybe there's some personal stuff. Maybe there's a family thing. And if that's the case, I retract all of this. I retract all of it. I don't know what's going on in his life. But if there isn't anything, let me just say this. If there isn't anything else going on, and he's just nah, I'm going to work out with my personal trainer, or I'm going to do my own thing, I don't think that's the smartest thing. You're coming to a new team, just like when you start any new job. You want to crush it like your first 6 months, right? You just want to come out there and just absolutely dominate on every performance indicator that they have. And participation, you would think, would probably be a big part of that. Not for Bobby Hart. So, Bengals fans can rejoice. No longer our problem in Cincinnati. Buffalo, we wish you the best of luck for Bobby Hart. That's all I got for you tonight, guys. It has been awesome kind of touching into some new waters here, covering the Titans, Colts, and Bills in our new episode here, Line Again. I appreciate you if you're joining tonight. Like the video, share the video, follow the page, invite some friends if you know that they're fans of the Lions, the Bengals, the Bills, the Colts, the Titans. If they're fans of those teams, we're going to start talking about them. And this show works a lot better when we've got you jumping in the chat, throwing in your opinions. It really helps me out, keeping the conversation flowing. It's just a lot more fun. So I appreciate you stopping in and spending Sunday night with me. I hope everybody has a great week, and we will see you next time.